far as we're aware, it's a Canadian-built aeroplane, and it served in Canada during the war. It was probably used for target towing duties. We purchased the aircraft in 1998, and it had previously been restored to airworthiness by the Westland Collection. It's got short takeoff and landing ability. You can land it on a rough, unprepared strip. It can carry quite a heavy payload, and there were plenty of them around that they didn't really have a job for, so they found their niche in that little role, really. The tail trim down here moves the entire tailplane. It's a moving tailplane. 16 turns stop to stop. So if I turn the wheel that way, that gives you your nose down, and then that way. Yeah, back to takeoff. And now we're fully nose up. So as you can see, it's quite a long travel between the two stops. And that was the Achilles heel in the aeroplane. If you didn't have the trim set in the right position, you could stall the aeroplane in very quickly. You can fly the aeroplane very slowly, but to do so you need quite a lot of engine power to do that, which is why we don't do it on our airshow days, really. But it means you can have your short takeoff and landing ability of the aeroplane, but also you can cruise at relatively high speeds as well. This is the undercarriage leg here, but all of the suspension is done inside the wheel, so it's referred to as the Doughty internally sprung wheel. And our shock strut is all built into the wheel here, and then behind it is the brake. So the whole unit, all the suspension unit, is built into the wheel, and it was used on this aeroplane. The other aeroplane we have here with the same system is the Gloucester Gladiator. It has the Doughty internally sprung wheel as well. As you can see, the undercarriage leg goes right through, and then mounted onto it we have the lift struts, and the fuselage is mounted onto it as well. And it's unique to the Lysander. And in fact, we had this out 2 or 3 years ago, and we overhauled this whole item and then put it all back in. So we had to trestle all the wings, take the struts off, and then pull the undercarriage out, which was quite a big job, really. You'd like. They fitted the spats for streamlining, and then on top of the spat under here would be your 303, which would mount in the back here, and then the ammunition was stored up here for it. We've also got our landing light in here, and these would have had covers over them. If they're operating off very damp, muddy airfields, they would take the covers off to stop the build-up of mud inside the wheels. The instrument panel that we're putting back in was what they referred to as the Standard 6. So any British-built aeroplane, the instruments you would need to fly it are in front of you in this order. So everything from the Lysander, the Spitfire, Hurricane, Mosquito, the Avro Anson that you've done your training on, the Lancaster, all of these instruments, so your airspeed, altitude, artificial horizon, your DI, climb and descend, and your turn and slip were always in that order in front of you. So it was a standard instrument panel, referred to as the Standard 6. We removed it to replace the airspeed indicator. That was out of calibration this year, so we've had to replace that with another one. And the altimeter needed to come out for calibration, and it's easier to do that with the instrument panel out because it's 3 nuts as opposed to trying to squeeze all of these out through the back. And we just take the whole thing out, dismantle it, do the work we need to, and then put it back together and put it back in. It makes it much easier. Handle like eggs. It was a thing that they put on the back of a lot of the gyro instruments because they have very delicate bearings in them, and they don't like being shaken around. So they used to pack them in wooden crates with horsehair and straw and things around them, and they would always be stamped up with do not jar, handle like eggs. There was no floor in the aeroplane, so your feet just fit into the rudder pedals, which you can adjust to suit the length of your legs. Being a shorty, you have to have them right up the top, and then it's just straight down to the bottom of the aeroplane. So if you drop your map, it's gone. That's it. You won't be able to pick it back up again. You've got some nice armrests for long distance flying, and then you've got your fuel tank, which you're sitting on top of, which has got 95 gallons in it, and then the tank underneath has 150 gallons, neither of which have self-sealing tanks. They're just aluminium tanks. If you have a fire or anything, it's going to come straight in at you. A lot of the aeroplanes at that period had the fuel tanks that you either sat on top of or they were directly in front of you. The Gladiator, for example, the fuel tank is behind the instrument panel. You look down and you can see the back of it, and it's the same thing, it's just an aluminium tank. So you've got a 150 gallon tank underneath, and because they've extended the fuel range by so much, this item here behind me is a long range oil tank. The normal oil tank, the standard oil tank, is up here, which is a silver item in front of the instrument panel, and that's your standard oil tank, and then this one will be your auxiliary tank. It was built as an army cooperation aeroplane, so it was designed to take over from the Westland WWII, but unfortunately it was obsolete by the time it went into service. It's fixed gear. What you have, this big green unit here which goes right through, so it goes right through, all the way through to the other side in a big U shape. Mounted onto that is your fuselage and your wing struts, and then the undercarriage at the bottom, and it's the Doughty internally sprung wheel, so all the suspension for the undercarriage is done inside the wheel. So this is your long range fuel tank that they fitted to the special duties aeroplanes. There's 150 gallons in this tank. And they were from the Bristol Bombay. These were the long-range fuel tanks that they had internally inside those, and they had lots of spare ones, so they made a rig up and they put them underneath with some slightly more streamlined ends to them. These were your long-range tanks. Your main fuel tank is behind the pilot's seat, and that has 95 gallons in it. So this year it's been on a 3-yearly inspection. And the major items we've done this year is, as you can see, the propeller is being removed. Jean-Michel is rebuilding that at the moment. And as part of our ongoing inspections, we've taken the reduction gear off the aeroplane to do an internal inspection of the reduction gear, make sure that's all in good condition, we haven't got any corrosion, and that was all found to be in very good condition. We've had the aeroplane jacked up, both of the wheels have come off for inspection of the brakes and the wheels themselves. And this year it's been due pressure testing of all of the flexible fuel hoses.
So this is the hub, of brace rollers go in there in a cage. That goes on like that. And obviously this prevents the whole blade exiting that way. And this will move inside here. So where you grease it through here, it goes into the spider, up the thing. You can't get the grease into the bearing, but water, as you can see, can flow right down the blade here and just runs into this cavity. And there's no seal, and there's no way to put a seal on there. You couldn't possibly put a groove in that. It's under such a high stress. There's no way you can alter that and improve it. So you're stuck really with that poor design.
One big carburettor for the entire engine, and one of the parts that it calls up for is to drain the car, check for any debris. We also have to flush it through. That's the main jet. Yeah, so we just cycle some fuel through it, and then I'll put the jet back in, lock it back up. We'll do it again and make sure it doesn't leak. Okay, that'll do you. Fuel off.
Fuel is off. Bottle top is set to.
This time it's on a D check, so it's quite in depth. So this is the front page, it's a 3-year D check. So there's quite a lot. First we've got all these monitored defects, so there might be things that we've picked up on in the past. We'll put them on this list, and then we monitor them in the future. Also things that come up like some 12-year inspections might come up that will go on there as well. Main planes, so this is all inspections in the wings and things. Engine, so I've done a lot on the engine this year. So what I've just done now is this one, carburetor drain and flush, check for metal particles in float chamber is clean. So that's that one. The engine in the aircraft is a Bristol Mercury. It's a 9-cylinder radial engine. It's got 870 horsepower and it's boosted, so it's got a supercharger. We run it on 100% octane fuel because it's a boosted engine. So a lot of the boosted engines here, like the Hurricane and the Spitfire, they'll all run on 100 LL fuel, which is a low lead content in the fuel. And that deals much better with high compression ratios, prevents detonation, which you can get if you were to put a lower grade fuel in. So we've just finished putting the spark plugs in. This is a HT lead, similar to what you'd find on a car. So that has to be screwed onto the back of the spark plug, which is what we'll do now. The real difference is between this sort of HT lead and on a car is these are screened. They've got this outside sort of braiding on them that you can see here. And that's for radio interference. If they were just normal sort of electrical cables, you'd get a lot of radio interference, so you wouldn't be able to hear the pilot properly. And this is one of those sort of jobs where access isn't brilliant, so it can end up taking a bit longer than you'd like.
The metal parts, all of the exposed pits here have removable aluminium panels, and the same underneath, and all of your undercarriage fairings are aluminium. And then at the back of the aeroplane, the fin and the tailplane are aluminium, as are the closing panels, but everything else is fabric covered. So it's a steel tube construction, and then it's wood to give it the shape, and then fabric over the top. Next on the list for me, I'm going to make a start on just having a quick look around the fuselage, and then I can make a start on panelling up then. We're getting to the end of the inspection, so it'd be nice to get it finished and out of the hangar, and we can bring the next one in then.
Essentially, it's come off maintenance, so we just need to check that nothing's been altered, disturbed, and everything's working well. It's what we call an engine ground run. It'll be run up to warmed up first, and there'll be some checks like the minimum oil pressure when the oil's cold. We'll warm it up as much as we can on the ground, then we'll do a medium to high powered run, and we'll check the system. So we're checking oil pressure, fuel pressure, we're checking the suction system, we'll check the ignition system, turn one off, run it on the other, turn the other off, and then we check pneumatic systems charging, we check the oil pressure at that higher RPM, and we also function the propeller to make sure that's working. And when that's all done, if we've got enough temperature, if the engine hasn't got too hot, we might do a full power run briefly, and then cool it down and shut down. Then we have a check around the engine for leaks and on any other thing. Aeroplanes will have an electric boost pump to get the fuel pressure up initially before you start. Some of these older ones just have a little pump in the cockpit, and that's just because it's not a gravity-fed fuel system. The fuel is in the back here. It's got to get up to the engine. That's normally done by an engine-driven pump, obviously, which doesn't work until the engine's working. And so you need to fill the carburetor and the system, all the lines up before that. So some aeroplanes, most aeroplanes will have an electric pump that you turn on that does that job for you, and also acts as a backup. In this aeroplane, there's an engine primer, which is a little plunger pump that you work, and you first prime the carburetor till it's full, and then you prime the engine cylinders. Just priming the cylinders now with the fuel. Got 5 good shots in this temperature. Okay. Switch is on. We're all clear.
Doug Rozendaal.
Hi Rory, I'm one of the engineers here at Shuttleworth.
So this is a Lysander, huh?
Yeah, fairly rare beast now. This is
Yeah.
2 or 3 flying.
I've seen, I've been around one, but I've never really given it a good look over. The wing looks like a gull wing Stinson with slats.
Yes, it's not dissimilar wing shape, obviously bigger, but you've got the full span leading edge slats, which are automatic. The inboard sections are attached to the flaps, so the flaps move down with the slats popping out.
And then the outboards are just aerodynamic?
Just aerodynamic. And
Angle of attack comes up, they pop out?
Exactly right.
Right, yeah, that's pretty typical. ME-262, Saberliner,
Yeah.
F-86, they did that on a lot of airplanes. So what engine do we have?
It's a Bristol Mercury, so you've got 870 horsepower.
Is it
Low
supercharged?
digest. Yes, supercharged, but a fairly rare engine now. We've got 2 here.
So did it fly originally with the Hamilton standard prop?
Yeah, well, this is the de Havilland prop, which is basically the same
Yeah, I was going to say
same
that.
style.
Well, if it's not a Hamilton standard, they did a real good job of making
Yeah.
it look like one.
Yeah, this is a de Havilland.
So this is the exhaust
Yeah.
and the intake both?
No, you've got a carburetor intake here.
So is this a 4-valve engine?
Yes, 4 valves per head.
Oh, I get it, wow. So they tried this same stunt on the B-29 using the exhaust to heat the leading edge of the nacelle, and it didn't work very good.
Right.
Does this engine run hot, or do you have problems with that?
I've never experienced problems with them running.
see.
I mean, they get hot on the ground, but
Right, so there's,
the air, they're fine.
the way I knew it was a 4-valve engine is because there's 2 exhaust valves coming out of each
exactly
cylinder.
right.
Yeah, right.
There's two inlet pipes to the back.
Right, and gear reduction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the engine looks, aside from the 4 valves, that's pretty unique to, this is help me again?
This is a Bristol Mercury.
Bristol.
But
Did all of the
Jupiter's-
Bristol engines have 4 valves per cylinder?
Yeah, the Jupiter, which preceded this, had 4 valves per head, but then you're looking at things like the Hercules and the Centaurus,
Yeah,
which are
the sleeve valve engines, right. And what are these big pipes here?
They are oil cooler induction
Okay,
pipes,
yep,
so there's an
yep.
oil cooler back there.
Right, you bet.
That's air intake.
Okay, so I'll bite. How do you get in and out of it?
That's a very good question. It's a bit of an act, but so you put
Oh, there's a step. Yep.
right leg there,
Yep. I got it.
left leg, then you have to stretch from there up to there.
You go.
You can't stand on that bit.
So we go in front of the struts.
Yes, that's right.
You're going to demonstrate.
Okay.
I got it. Yep, yep, yep. Well, now that I know how to get in and out of it, I'm ready to fly it.
Yeah.
May I?
Go for it, yeah.
Okay. So here we have the throttle
Throttle and mixture.
mixture. Prop control is right here on the instrument panel, push-pull.
Yep.
And this guy right here.
That's your fuel on-off cock.
Okay, so it's just on or off all in one tank?
That's it, exactly.
Yep. And the flap handle is where?
There's no, the flap's completely automatic, so you've got no flap handle.
So when these come out, they put the flaps down.
Yeah.
Oh, now that's, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, the flaps are connected to the inboard slats.
Okay, so as the angle of attack of the airplane comes up, air gets under the leading edge of this slat, and it pulls out, which deploys the flaps on the back side of the wing. And then we'll push that back, and then you can see on the outboard end of the wing, there's another slat that comes out, and it's just independent.
They're independent of the inboard ones and of each other.
So a very standard cockpit. It's got your typical British ring on the stick.
Yep.
And then, of course, to
brake lever.
apply the brakes, you select the rudder in the direction you want brake, and then you pull this lever over to the left or to the right. No, you pull it to the left. Yeah, you pull that over to the left, and it's still got some air in it. And that's an acquired taste. I've flown the Yak has a similar setup.
It does.
And it works good once you understand it, but it
Takes a bit of practice.
takes a bit of practice. Here's a master switch, and that's that's very British.
It is. You've got your Morse code for the identification line there.
So you
It's in
go
Morse
dit
code.
it dit da 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 dit, and help will be on the way. And down here we have the cowl flap control. They call them gills over here, but us Yanks call it cowl flap.
That's a gas primer for priming the engine.
Right. So pump a little fuel into it.
And down here you've got the tailplane trim control.
Right, and here's right where it should be, right where your hand falls on it. Throttle, trim. Very straightforward for a pre-war airplane. I think it'd be a delight to fly.